Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're heading over to Spain, virtually, of course, to take a look at the legal side of things for foreigners living there.
Oh, this will be a good one.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
We've got some really interesting documents from MCHM Abogados, which is a Spanish law firm
Okay.
that specializes in immigration law.
Very cool.
So if you've ever thought about, moving to Spain, this is the deep dive for you.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, we're going to break down what the law actually says about your rights and responsibilities as a foreigner.
Right.
Compared to a Spanish citizen.
You know what's interesting is that Spain kind of goes a step further than just like basic immigration procedures.
Okay.
They've actually created like a whole system that tries to make sure foreigners feel welcome
Oh, wow.
and are treated equally to Spanish citizens.
Okay, let's unpack that a little.
Yeah.
The documents really stress equality.
Exactly. They specifically say that it's against the law to discriminate against someone because of their nationality.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, and this commitment to equal treatment, it's like built into the whole legal system.
That's reassuring for anyone thinking of making the move.
Right.
But what does it actually look like in real life? Like, what specific rights are we talking about here?
Well, the document outlines a bunch of rights,
Okay.
starting with the right to legal assistance.
Okay.
So, like, imagine you're in Spain and you get into some kind of legal trouble. This right basically means that you have the right to a lawyer, just like a Spanish citizen would.
Gotcha.
And that can range from, just getting some advice from a lawyer to having them actually represent you in court.
Yeah, that's important, especially if you're dealing with a legal system you're not familiar with.
Oh, absolutely.
Having that support can make a huge difference.
Huge.
What other rights stand out to you?
One that I thought was really interesting is the right to seek asylum and international protection.
Okay.
This basically shows that Spain is committed to helping people who are fleeing persecution. It says a lot about their values.
Yeah, it does.
As a country.
What does international protection even mean? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, so it goes beyond just granting asylum.
Okay.
It's more like a broader range of safeguards for people who maybe don't fit the traditional definition of a refugee,
Okay.
but are still facing serious threats in their home countries.
Yeah.
So, for example, someone who's being persecuted because of their sexual orientation or their political beliefs could seek protection under this provision.
So it's kind of like a safety net for those who might not qualify for asylum in the more traditional sense.
Exactly. It shows they understand that displacement can be really complicated.
Right.
It's not always straightforward.
No, it's not.
And moving on from individual rights, the document also talks about the right to family reunification.
Okay.
So this is a big one. Imagine you've started a new life in Spain, but your spouse and children are still back in your home country.
Okay.
This right allows you to apply for them to join you.
Oh, wow.
Which shows they recognize that families should be together, even across borders.
It's not just about individual rights then.
Right. It's about protecting families.
So what's the process like for family reunification? Is it pretty straightforward?
Well, there is a process.
Okay.
You have to show that you can support your family in Spain. Like, you need to have a stable place to live and a job.
Makes sense.
Your family members will also have to meet certain health and character requirements.
Right.
So it's not just a matter of showing up.
Right.
But at least the law gives you a clear way to bring your loved ones to Spain legally.
Okay, so there's a system in place, but it seems like it's designed to make sure things are done properly.
Right, exactly.
Okay, beyond these really crucial rights, the document also mentions things like education, healthcare work, and even decent housing.
Yeah, it's not just about surviving.
Right.
In Spain, it's about actually having a good life.
Yeah, and feeling like you belong.
Exactly. They want foreigners to thrive, not just exist.
That's a really important distinction.
It is.
What about access to work?
So foreigners do have the right to work in Spain.
Okay.
But they might need a work permit,
Okay.
depending on their nationality and the type of work they'll be doing.
Right.
That's where a firm like MCHM Abogados can really help.
I bet.
They can guide you through the process of getting the right permit.
Yeah, make sure everything's legal.
Exactly.
Okay, and then there are the fundamental freedoms, like freedom of association and freedom of expression.
Yes, you can join clubs, share your opinions, and participate in public life,
Okay.
just like a Spanish citizen would.
Mm.
Imagine joining a local hiking group
Yeah.
or volunteering at a community garden.
That's nice.
These freedoms let you be a part of Spanish society
Yeah.
and contribute to your new community.
So it's not just about having legal status.
Right.
It's about feeling like you're a part of things.
Exactly. It's about belonging.
And being an active citizen, even if you're not originally from Spain.
Exactly.
Okay, we've talked about the rights, which seem pretty comprehensive. Yeah. But of course, rights also come with responsibilities.
Of course.
So what does the document say about the obligations of foreigners in Spain?
Well, the first one's pretty basic.
Okay.
Foreigners have to follow Spanish laws and regulations.
Okay, so no special treatment
No.
just because you're from somewhere else?
Nope. Just like anywhere else, you have to respect the rules of the country you're living in.
Right. What about financially? Like taxes and stuff?
Yeah, that's another important responsibility. You have to pay taxes.
Right.
You benefit from public services.
Right.
Like healthcare and education, so you have to contribute financially.
That makes sense. So far, pretty standard stuff. Is there anything else?
Well, the document also talks about respecting societal norms.
Okay.
And contributing to a harmonious environment.
Interesting.
So it's not just about following the law. It's about being a good neighbor and a respectful member of the community.
Yeah, being a part of things.
Exactly.
Okay, what about keeping your immigration status legal?
Oh, that's crucial.
Yeah.
It means making sure your visa's up to date. And that you have any work permits you need.
Right.
You basically have to follow all the rules related to your immigration status.
So that's the foundation.
Exactly.
You can't cut corners with that.
Nope.
Okay, while the document talks about equality, there are some differences between the rights of foreigners and Spanish citizens.
That's true. There are some areas where they make a distinction.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting.
It is.
Tell me more about these differences. What stands out to you?
Well, one of the big ones is political participation.
Okay.
Foreigners generally can't vote in national elections.
Okay.
That right is reserved for Spanish citizens.
I see.
They might be able to vote in municipal elections, though.
Oh, okay.
It depends on agreements with their home countries.
So you can have a say in local matters,
Right.
but not national ones.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, we welcome you to participate in society, but the ultimate responsibility for running the country belongs to Spanish citizens.
Right. Okay, what other distinctions are there?
Another difference is access to certain public sector jobs.
Okay.
So while foreigners can work in Spain, some government positions might require Spanish nationality.
I can see why they would do that.
Right. It's about making sure national interests are protected at the highest levels of government.
Makes sense. Okay, and what about becoming a citizen?
Right. For foreigners, obtaining Spanish nationality is a process.
Okay.
Whereas people born in Spain automatically become citizens.
So it's something you have to earn.
Exactly. It's not automatic.
Tell me more about that process.
Well, generally, you have to show that you're committed to Spanish society by living there for a certain amount of time, learning the language and integrating into the culture.
So it's not just about being there physically.
Right. You have to really show that you want to be a part of the Spanish nation.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a big commitment.
It is.
So the process reflects that.
It does.
Now, before we move on, I just want to remind everyone that all of this information is coming from the legal experts at MCHM Abogados.
They're the ones who deal with this stuff every day.
Exactly.
So if you're serious about moving to Spain, they're the people to talk to.
Yeah, they even included their contact info in this document.
Oh, that's helpful.
It is.
You know, when you're making a big life change like this, it's always a good idea to get advice from experts.
Definitely.
They can help you understand the law and the whole process.
And make sure you're ready for your new life.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the right to legal assistance to the responsibility of paying taxes. We've gone over the main rights and obligations of foreigners in Spain.
Right.
And we've talked about how their rights differ from those of Spanish citizens.
Yes.
So what's been the most surprising or interesting thing you've learned so far?
I think it's amazing how Spain has managed to create a system that welcomes foreigners while still protecting its own interests and keeping society cohesive.
It's a balancing act.
It is, and I'm really curious to see how it works in practice.
Yeah, me too. You know, this whole conversation has me thinking.
About what?
What if we were the ones moving to a new country?
Oh, yeah.
What rights would be most important to us? And what responsibilities would we be happy to take on?
That's a good question to think about.
It is, because what we consider a basic right here might not be seen the same way somewhere else.
That's true.
It makes you think about your own values and how they might fit in a different culture.
It's all about expanding our perspectives and understanding what it really means to live in a globalized world.
I like that.
Me too.
Thinking about all this Spanish law stuff makes me wonder about the people actually going through it.
Yeah.
Like, what's it actually like to navigate this system as a foreigner?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And, behind all these laws and regulations, there are actual people with their own stories and struggles. I bet a law firm like MCHM Abogados sees that all the time.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they must deal with so many different cases.
Yeah.
Everything from simple visa applications to really complex asylum claims.
I bet they see it, all the joys and the heartbreaks of people trying to start over in Spain.
Totally. It's one thing to read about the law.
Right.
But it's a whole other thing to actually see how it affects people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about that moment when a family finally reunites after being apart for years.
Oh, yeah.
Or the frustration of someone who keeps hitting roadblocks in the system.
Yeah, those are the stories that make the law real.
Makes you think about the role of empathy in all of this. Both for the people going through the system and the legal professionals helping them.
Yeah, empathy is huge. I mean, for the individual, it's about understanding what it's like to leave everything behind and start fresh in a new country.
And for the legal professionals, it's about realizing that their decisions have a real impact on people's lives.
Exactly. It's about advocating for their clients with compassion and understanding.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that behind all the legal jargon and paperwork, there are real people with hopes and dreams and vulnerabilities.
For sure. And those human stories should definitely inform how we approach immigration policy and how we treat people navigating the system.
Okay, so you mentioned before that foreigners might need special work permits.
Yeah.
Depending on their nationality and the type of work they want to do. Can you tell me more about that? So, what kinds of work permits are there?
Spain has a whole bunch of work permits for different situations. There's the general work permit for skilled workers, but you need a job offer from a Spanish company to get that one.
Makes sense.
Then there are permits for seasonal workers, entrepreneurs, and highly qualified professionals.
So there are options.
Yeah, there are a lot, and each one has its own requirements and conditions.
So it's not one size fits all.
Nope. You really need to figure out which permit you need.
Yeah, and probably get some advice.
Oh, yeah, talking to a lawyer who specializes in immigration law is a really good idea.
Right, they can help you through the process.
Yeah, they can make sure you're eligible and that you have all the right documents.
That's really valuable. Okay, so beyond the legal stuff, what about the practical side of living in Spain?
Right.
Like the language barrier.
Okay.
How important is it to speak Spanish?
Well, you can probably get by with English in some places, especially touristy areas.
Right.
But learning Spanish will make your life so much easier.
Okay.
And more enjoyable.
Okay.
You'll be able to connect with locals better.
Yeah.
Do everyday tasks more easily, and really feel like you're a part of Spanish society.
Makes sense. But let's be real. Not everyone moving to Spain is going to be fluent in Spanish.
True.
What about people who need to learn or improve their Spanish?
There are tons of resources out there.
Okay.
You've got language schools with intensive courses, online platforms that are more flexible, and even community centers often have conversational Spanish classes.
Oh, it's nice.
Plus, just talking to locals is one of the best ways to learn.
Sort of immersion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What about finding a place to live?
Housing can be tricky,
Yeah.
especially in the big cities.
Yeah, I bet.
But there are things you can do.
Okay.
Like you can check out online real estate portals,
Okay.
rental agencies, and expat communities.
Okay.
They can all give you good info and advice.
So do your research?
Yeah, research different neighborhoods.
Okay.
Figure out how much rent usually costs. And be prepared for the Spanish rental process.
Right. It sounds like being prepared is key.
It really is.
Okay. We talked about work permits and housing. What about healthcare?
Okay, so Spain has a universal healthcare system,
Right.
which means everyone has access to medical care,
Okay.
no matter where they're from or if they have a job.
That's good.
Yeah, but the amount of coverage you get depends on your residency status and whether you're paying into the Social Security system through work.
So it's not just free healthcare for everyone.
No, there are some conditions.
Okay.
If you're working in Spain and paying Social Security, you'll have full access to the public healthcare system.
Okay.
But if you're not working or have a different residency status, you might need private health insurance.
To cover certain things.
Right.
So you really need to understand how the healthcare system works.
Yeah, especially if you have any pre-existing conditions or specific medical needs.
Okay, going back to the legal document for a second.
Yeah.
It talks about the rights and responsibilities, but it doesn't really say what happens if you don't fulfill those responsibilities.
Yeah. Right.
Like, what if someone overstays their visa or works without permission?
Well, that's where the legal system steps in.
Right.
And the consequences can be pretty serious, like fines, deportation.
Wow.
And even being banned from entering Spain again.
Okay, so the stakes are high.
They are. It's not just about following the rules. It's about making sure you can stay in Spain.
Right.
And build a life there.
That's a good point. You know, this whole idea of integration.
Yeah.
The document talks about respecting societal norms and creating a harmonious environment. But what does that actually look like in real life?
Right.
Like, do you have to completely assimilate?
Yeah.
Or can you still hold on to your own cultural identity?
That's a tough question.
It is.
There's no easy answer. I think integration is a two-way street.
Okay.
It's about respecting and adapting to the new culture, but also keeping parts of your own culture and heritage.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah. Being yourself, but also being a part of Spanish society.
All right.
It's about building bridges and understanding each other.
And embracing the fact that different cultures make a society richer.
Exactly.
That sounds like a journey.
It is both for the individual and the community.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's thinking about moving to Spain?
Based on what we've learned.
Yeah.
I'd say the most important thing is to be informed.
All right.
Do your research, understand the legal stuff, and be realistic about the challenges.
That's good advice.
What else? Don't underestimate how important it is to immerse yourself in the culture.
Oh, yeah.
Learn the language. Explore the local customs.
Okay.
Connect with Spanish people.
Right. It'll make you feel more at home.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the legal side.
Right. It's about the people and the way of life.
And my last piece of advice would be don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, there are people who can help you, lawyers, expat communities.
Right.
They can guide you and support you.
It's a big step, moving to a new country.
Huge.
You don't have to do it all alone.
You really don't.
This whole conversation has really painted a picture of Spain for me.
Yeah.
It seems like a country that values equality, welcomes different people.
Definitely.
And has a really cool mix of tradition and modern life.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place.
It does sound pretty tempting.
It does.
But before we all book our flights,
Uh-huh.
let's bring this deep dive back down to earth for a minute.
Good idea.
We've covered a lot.
Tons.
But there's always more to learn.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And remember, this is just one perspective on immigration law in Spain.
Right.
There are so many other experiences and legal details out there. So if you're interested in learning more, keep digging.
Definitely.
Explore the areas that you're most curious about. Maybe read about what it's like to be an expat in Spain.
Okay. Or look into the history of Spanish immigration law.
There's so much information out there waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as we wrap up this look at Spain's laws for foreigners, I keep thinking about this idea of a two-way street.
Yeah.
Like Spain gives foreigners all these rights and opportunities, but they also expect them to, contribute to society and follow the rules.
Right. It's like a partnership.
And it makes you think about how immigration shapes a country's identity.
Yeah.
Like, how does a country welcome new people?
Right.
But also keep its own culture and values?
That's a tough one.
It is. It's a big question, but it's an important one.
Especially now with the world being so connected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you've studied immigration law.
Well, immigration has always been a part of things.
Right. People have been moving around forever.
Exactly. Societies change over time, and immigration is often part of that change.
So it's not about closing borders.
No.
Or trying to stop things from changing.
Right. It's about figuring out how to make immigration work for everyone.
The newcomers and the people already living there.
Exactly. And that takes smart policies that think about things like integration, the economy, and cultural exchange.
It's about creating a system that's fair.
Yeah.
And helps make society stronger.
That's the goal.
You know, going back to that document from MCHM Abogados.
Yeah.
It seems like Spain really sees foreigners as bringing something to the table. Like their skills and talents and ideas benefit Spain. And in return, immigrants get the chance to build a better life.
Yeah, and contribute to their new home.
Exactly. It's like everyone wins.
When it works well.
Yeah. I'm also interested in how much they stress respect for societal norms.
Yeah.
And creating a harmonious environment.
Right. It shows that they understand how important it is to find common ground and build bridges between cultures.
Okay, so let's talk about language for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about how useful it is to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
But what about the cultural side of things?
Oh, yeah.
How does learning the language affect how immigrants feel about belonging and their own identity.
Language is more than just words.
Right. It's like a window into a culture.
Exactly. It helps you understand the values and traditions and how people think.
Learning Spanish can really help you connect with people in Spain.
On a deeper level.
Yeah.
You start to pick up on the little things.
The nuances.
Yeah, and it makes you feel like you belong.
So it's not just about ordering food or asking for directions.
No, it's about understanding the culture.
And sharing experiences.
Right. It helps you build relationships with people from different backgrounds.
That sounds like a powerful experience.
It is for both the individual and the community.
Okay, last question.
Shoot.
Imagine you could create immigration policy for your own country.
Wow. That's a big one.
It is. What principles would be most important to you?
Well, I think you have to start by recognizing that every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.
No matter where they're from.
Exactly. It shouldn't matter what their nationality is or their immigration status.
Right. It's about being empathetic and compassionate.
Yeah.
And trying to create a fair system for everyone.
And remembering that immigration can make a country stronger.
When it's done right.
Absolutely. It brings new ideas and energy and culture.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at immigration law in Spain.
It has.
We've learned a lot.
So much.
I hope this has inspired you to keep learning about immigration.
Me too.
It's such a complex issue.
It really is.
But it's so important to understand it, especially in today's world.
Absolutely. The conversation doesn't end here. Keep asking questions and stay engaged.
And if you're thinking about moving to Spain,
Oh, yeah.
do your research, connect with the right people, and be open to new experiences.
The world is full of possibilities. Go explore them.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been fun.